Thanksgiving night. Rocco Estate, Hudson River, just north of Manhattan. The sky smells of snow that hasn't fallen yet. The house glowed like a promise. Firelight washed the paneled walls in amber and gold. Crystal stemware caught sparks and threw them back like stars. Voices rose, warm and overlapping. Dinah Rocco's laugh, an uncle's story told too loud, the clink of serving spoons against heirloom china. It was a room built for belonging, and Leo Rocco could read belonging the way a sniper reads wind. He felt it shift before he saw why. At the far end of the table, a place had been set and never taken. Linen napkin folded into a leaf, a thin rim of steam fading from a plate of sage stuffing. The empty chair pulsed against his peripheral vision like a missed heartbeat. Leo's gaze tracked past it, to the service hallway, where a girl in a black dress uniform stood with her back to the wall, hands clenched around a tray that had nothing on it. Her name was Crystal Smith. He knew the roster of his house as well as he knew the serial numbers of the weapons he never left unsecured. He knew she was punctual, careful, polite in a way that tried not to take up air. He did not know that tonight her eyes would look like a storm that had learned to be quiet. She tipped her chin down so the light fell off her face. A tremor passed through her shoulders, small, like a bird shivering on a wire. No one at the table noticed. Leo did. He rose. "Leo," his mother said softly, fingers catching the cuff of his jacket. "Where are you going?" "The toast." "In a minute, Ma." He touched her knuckles and left her with a smile that meant trust me. He crossed the room without noise. He could be thunder. Tonight he chose to be snowfall. "You're not carrying anything," he said, stopping an arm's length from Crystal. He kept his voice low, the private register that turned orders into kindness when he wanted it to. "Just the tray. That's heavy in the wrong way." Crystal startled, tray edge bumping the wall. I'm sorry, Mr. Rocco. There was a spill. I thought maybe—" Her breath broke. She turned her face away, knuckles whitening around polished silver. "I'm fine." "You're crying." He didn't make it a question. She flinched, as if the truth were an accusation. "I'll get it under control." "You don't have to get anything under control," he said. "That's my job in this house." A dozen conversations swelled and receded behind him like the tide. Dina called for the toast. The cousins argued about football. A small niece sang to herself, off-key and happy. It was the kind of noise that hurts when you stand at the edge of it. Leo remembered that feeling too well to let it pass. "Who's the empty chair for?" he asked. The staff always keeps an extra place for the end of the shift," she said, eyes fixed somewhere near his tie pin. "It's silly. Chef said it's bad luck to clear it too soon." "Bad luck is superstition," Leo said. "Loneliness is a design choice." Her mouth moved like she nearly smiled. She didn't. "Come sit," he said. Crystal blinked. "Sir?" "At the table." He nodded toward the long stretch of family, friends, and history. "Thanksgiving is a table with all of us at it. Otherwise it's not Thanksgiving. Come sit, Crystal." She swallowed hard. Panic skittered across her face. "Mr. Rocco, please. I don't want to cause— I'm fine in the kitchen, really." "Do you trust me?" he asked. She lifted her eyes, finally meeting his. They were river glass green, rimmed red, stubborn even when frightened. "I don't know you. I don't ask questions I don't plan to earn," he said. "Right now I'm asking you to trust me for one dinner. After that we'll renegotiate." A strangled laugh, a breath that might have been a sob. She nodded once. He took the tray from her hands, leaned it against the wall. He didn't touch her. He didn't need to. The way he turned with her into the light felt like a veil lifting. Conversation stumbled. Forks stilled. "Family," Dina said, quick as a conductor bringing an orchestra to tempo. Her smile widened, steady and welcoming. "We have a guest." "Not a guest," Leo said. "Our own." He led Crystal to the empty chair, the one that had been waiting like a prophecy. A murmur rolled the length of the table. Marco's eyebrows climbed, amused. Someone's wife whispered, unprofessional, with a little curl of her lip. Dina reached for Crystal's hand first. "What's your name, dear?" "Crystal." she managed. Crystal Smith. Welcome, Crystal Smith, Dina said. You are not alone at my table. Something in Crystal's throat crumpled, then lifted. Thank you. Leo sat. He could feel his family measuring him against their version of tradition. Old-world rules, hierarchies like staircases. He could also feel the way Crystal kept her back straight beyond exhaustion, wearing apology like a uniform she hadn't chosen. He lifted his glass. To the ones who showed up, he said, and to the ones we make room for. Glasses rose. It wasn't unanimous. It was enough. They ate. The room loosened. Dina fed Crystal as if the girl were made of delicate bone china that needed steady hands. The child with the off-key song migrated to Crystal's side and asked whether she liked marshmallows on sweet potatoes. Crystal whispered that she would eat a whole cloud if anyone let her. Someone refilled her water. Leo watched her shoulders ease by degrees he counted like seconds. Long day? He asked softly, once the plates had turned into stories and contented sighs. You could say that. She toyed with her napkin, then folded it with professional precision, as if control could be engineered out of cotton. I'm sorry if I made a scene. You didn't make anything, Leo said. You were in pain. That's not a scene. Her jaw worked. The words came out halting, like she was prying them loose from a locked drawer. A collector came by the apartment this afternoon. I was late for prep. She swallowed. He told my brother that interest eats faster than we can feed it. How old is your brother? 14. What's the number? Leo asked. Calm. He was a man who asked for the number when the problem wanted to hide in adjectives. Crystal looked at him alarmed. You don't have to. I'm not asking you for. I didn't say I'm paying it, he said. I asked for the number. Her mouth trembled, then pressed hard at the corners like stitches. She told him. It was too high for a girl's wages and a boy's textbooks, too low for a man like Leo to notice if the world were simple. It wasn't. Who holds it now? He asked. I thought it was a bank at first, she said. Then the notices started coming from a company that doesn't have a person attached. The collector said. He said the paper changed hands. Twice. Marco laughed at the far end of the table, sharp, the sound of glass kissing stone. Leo didn't look over. Okay, Leo said. It meant I hear you. It also meant I have a list forming in my head and none of the names will survive the night unchanged. Crystal stared at her plate, voice very small. He told Evan, my brother, that if we don't get current by Monday, he knows the route from Evan's school to our building. He described it like he'd walked it. Twice. The fire cracked. Snow smell thickened at the windows. Leo's pulse slowed into something exact and quiet and deadly. Eat, he said gently. Then we'll talk. Mr. Rocco, I'm not trying to bring trouble into your home. You didn't bring it, he said. You revealed it. That's different. Dina touched Leo's wrist and then Crystal's, reading them both like a mother does. We'll send a package with you tonight, she said. Leftovers, pies, a little of everything. Tell me your brother's favorite. Pumpkin, Crystal whispered, as if saying pumpkin might be the strangest mercy in the world. Pumpkin it is. Dessert came with laughter again. Dina insisted on coffee. Leo felt the room breathe around Crystal like a living thing that had decided, slowly, skeptically, to call her by her name. He let himself look away from her for the first time in 20 minutes. That was when the house made a new sound. Not a knock, not a ring. A soft, obscene slide as something pushed under the main door and skidded across the marble like a dropped prayer. A cousin rose halfway. A guard who wasn't supposed to be visible suddenly was, ghosting the hallway. Leo stood, and the room stood with him because that's what rooms did when he did. He crossed the foyer and crouched with unhurried precision. An envelope, thick. The corner darkened with a bloom that sure as winter was blood. He didn't open it there. He lifted it with 2 fingers, set it on a side table, and turned to Dina. Keep everyone seated, he said softly. She nodded, steel under lace. He looked back down the table. Crystal's face had lost what color it had claimed. She knew, the way prey knows a shadow isn't wind. Leo walked to her. He didn't touch her. He anchored his voice for only her to hear. When this dinner ends, you're not going back to your apartment. Mr. Rocco, Crystal, he said, and her name in his mouth sounded like a vow. You are not alone in my house. Her breathing hitched, her chin lifted, the smallest defiance against panic. For how long? As long as it takes to make alone impossible. Is this a choice? He said. Yours. She stared at him like she could see the edges of the man everyone else wrote in rumors. And if I say yes, what do you want from me? Nothing I wouldn't ask of anyone I care about, he said. Eat, sleep, answer your phone. Tell me the truth when it hurts. Let me do the part I'm good at. What part is that? Making sure the wrong men forget your brother's name. He turned his head a fraction, and a shadow detached from a doorway. Security, silent, waiting. Leo nodded once. The shadow dissolved again. Marco's smile knifed from down the table. Holiday mail, cuz. Tell me we're not doing business at dessert. Leo's eyes didn't shift. We're always doing business, he said. We're just deciding which part is family. Crystal looked at the pumpkin pie slice set before her like a childish miracle. She picked up her fork, hand steadier than before, and ate one bite. Then another. The envelope sat where he'd left it, bleeding into the grain of the table like a clock. Outside, the first thin lace of snow began to fall, and somewhere between hearth and door, a war chose its opening move. The envelope left a rust-colored halo on the walnut desk, as if it wanted to sign its work. Leo slid it with his thumb. One matte black card, clean type, Happy Thanksgiving, King. Debts are family business. Pay yours. Paper clipped to the corner, Crystal reflected in a bus window. Evan's hoodie a blur, timestamp today, 4:06 p.m. Far edge, the mirror of a white van, catching sun like a smirk. He didn't flinch. He called security. Lock the perimeter, quietly. New codes on the east wing. Move Crystal's locker contents to a guest suite. Set up a room for her brother, guard on the hallway. At first light, I want a car at PS 4017 and at Cortlandt and 158th. If anyone touches the kid, they'll miss the finger they used. Dina slipped into the study, eyes soft, jaw iron. You seated her at our table, she said. Finish the sentence. I intend to. Do it loudly, she answered, and left him with a kiss to his cheek and the weight of a mother's faith. Leo found Crystal in the small sitting room off the study, blanket to her chin, Dina's tea steaming between careful hands. He set the black card on the side table so she could see it and asked nothing for a beat. We were watched today, he said. Her eyes went to the photo like a magnet. Evan? He's home, Leo said. Tonight he sleeps here. So do you. Here? The word was gratitude wearing fear. In the east wing. New locks, new rules. He kept his voice level. You'll tell Dina sizes for clothes. Tomorrow we'll fetch anything sentimental. After that I'll show you something no collector ever gave you. Breathing room. Her mouth pressed thin against reflex shame. I don't want to owe you. Then don't, he said. Work. Not as a cleaning ghost. House manager. Contract in your name. Benefits. Time for your brother. You won't be my problem. You'll be my responsibility. She swallowed, eyes shining. If I say yes, what do you want from me? Honesty. Patience. And the truth when it hurts. He tipped his head at the card. This is leverage pretending to be destiny. I don't let other men write my endings. She nodded once, the small soldier's nod of someone learning how to accept help without losing herself. Okay. He walked her to the east wing, cedar and quiet, winter white linens, a basket arranged by Dina's hands, socks, soap, hot cocoa mix, a note in tidy script. If you can't sleep, warm milk helps. Gratitude after. Crystal made a small sound that could have been a laugh or a prayer. I've never had a room that didn't creak to tell on me. Then this one will lie for you, Leo said. Press 2 if you need anything. When she was settled, he went to the rear terrace, cold air biting the river. Marco paced like a cat with a glass of bourbon. You ruined dessert, Marco said. Bad manners on a holiday. Every day is a holiday for a man without a conscience, Leo replied. Marco smiled. You grew one. I didn't. He lifted his glass toward the house. The girl is pretty. Eyes like expensive glass. Sit the help at your table and men will test your fences. Some fences have teeth, Leo said, almost friendly. He called intel the moment Marco left. Pull registries. Find which shells have been buying microdebts uptown. Delaware, Nevada, names that smell like laundry. The report hit his phone like cards turning. Neven Holdings, DE, acquired personal consumer portfolios. Caden Financial, NV, flipped the paper last week to Havel Asset Group. Registered agent on both. Law Office of MR Consulting. MR. Marco Rocco by another name. Leo stared at the initials. He felt the clean click of pieces aligning. Marco had moved pain like inventory and sold it to a man who turned debt into leashes. Havel didn't send elegant black cards, which meant the card came from someone who knew Leo's house well enough to be theatrical. Evan arrived past 9, hair skewed, backpack full of rattling everything. Crystal folded him into her arms. Leo offered a hand. I'm Leo. The boss, Evan said, careful. This house is big. It shrinks when it knows your name. Leo took them down the hallway with the bored guard who wasn't bored. Tonight is Coco. Tomorrow is normal with better locks. Do I have to wear a tie? Evan asked. God, no. Cool, the kid said, meaning I hope so. By dawn, Leo had bled the night into lists. Nevan, Caden, Havel, couriers, rooftops, van permits, PS 417. He wrote Marco last, the ink drying like a thought he chose not to say out loud. At breakfast, the security chief brought an update. Inner ring guard took a 12-minute call from a flagged number. That's your envelope window. Name? Luca De Soto. Fire him, Leo said. Then hire him back as bait. Pay stays. He just doesn't know I know. Crystal met him in the hall, hair damp, wearing a borrowed sweater. Your mother gave me a hat, she said, almost smiling. She said it was a good luck color. It will be, he said. Do you like the room? It didn't complain while I slept. She hesitated. What did the card say? He told her, flat and precise. At Havel, her fingers tightened in her cuff. Not a ghost, Leo said. Just a man. And men can bleed, she answered, soft but certain. He laid out the plan. You go with Dina to your apartment. Take what matters. My men move the rest. Evan rides with me to school. He meets his driver and the guard who will be invisible until he's not. When you're back, you read your contract. Not because I want to own you, because I want you to own your life. She nodded. Okay. Then, after a beat that sounded like trust, thank you. At PS 417, Leo handed Evan to Kay, a guard who looked carved from patience. If anyone you don't know talks to you, you talk to Kay, he said. The boy grunted teenage acceptance, which in a different language meant thanks for seeing me. Intel pinged. The white van sat under scaffolding 3 blocks away, a permit slightly off-center, a plate that lied lazily. The courier appeared, coffee in one hand, a forgettable face. He got into the passenger side. Interesting. The driver never turned his head. Snapshot, Leo said. The courier's phone screen caught an email header as the camera blinked. Subject, Portfolio Transfer Confirmation, Nevan, Havel from, Emarchy Advising, alawmail.cc. Marco's initials again, a burner wearing a law firm costume. Leo's breath left in the straight line of a man who had already chosen what to do. Mirror that mailbox, he ordered. When it gets mail, I get mail. They've been rehearsing. Intel texted next, attaching yesterday's shot of the school from a high angle, the same van a block down. Enough, Leo replied. Quiet pickup. No sirens. His crew closed like a hand. The bored woman at the post was suddenly a badge. The driver discovered what it felt like to lose a plan. The courier learned that daylight answers to some men, too. Leo left the pickup to the machine he built and met Crystal at the foyer. Dina held a cardboard box of frames, Evan at a spelling bee, a folded photo of their mother. the kind of paper memories you don't dare leave behind. I have answers, Leo told Crystal. She braced. He gave them to her. Nevin, Caden, Havel, and the consultancy that wore Marco's initials like cologne. Because you were kind, she whispered, meaning visible, meaning exposed. Because I was seen, he corrected. Kindness is currency. Broke men try to steal it. What do we do now? We get Evan through the week without losing his smile. We put a contract in your hand that doesn't evaporate. And we teach Marco that my table is not for sale. Her chin lifted, green eyes stubborn. Okay. Another buzz from the pickup team. Van is a rental from Hudson Fleet. Renter, MR Consulting. Glovebox held a second card, handwritten. Bring the girl to talk or the boy takes a ride. Crystal read the line upside down and went bloodless. Leo pocketed the phone. They don't get to ask, he said. They get to listen. In the study, he slid a folder across the desk. Crystal Smith, house manager, salary that made her blink, benefits, a clause for dependent tuition support. She covered her mouth. A sound escaped that wasn't pretty, but was true. This is real, she murmured. This is me doing what I said. She signed with a hand that trembled once and then didn't. He countersigned, a formality that felt like a vow. A new text arrived from an unknown number. Nice contract. Shame about the photo. An image loaded slowly. Saddest slow. Evan, outside PS 4017, yesterday. Same van nearby. In the corner, a hand holding the camera. On the ring finger, a signet Leo knew. The Rocco crest. Not on Marco. He wore his on a chain. But on one of Marco's loyalists. Crystal only saw Evan. Is that? Yesterday, Leo said. Practicing. And tomorrow? She asked. Tomorrow they learn mine. The intercom crackled. Boss? Security. We pulled the dash cam from the van. There's a still printed and taped under it. Do not spill until Friday. Also a close-up of the kid, time-stamped yesterday, plus something else. What else? A still labeled 3:20 p.m. today at the school's side door. The delivery exit. Crystal's eyes snapped to Leo's. How can a picture? It's not prophecy, he said. It's a plan on a schedule. He looked at the clock. 8:27 a.m. He pictured the side door, the delivery window, the lazy guard rotation the school thought was a secret. He called Kay. At 3:15, the side door is closed and locked. If anyone argues, the principal approved it. If the principal didn't, I just became very persuasive. Yes, sir. He turned to Crystal. A new pressure lifted the room by the ribs. You said you'd cut the leash. He told her. Bring the knife. Tell me where to stand, she answered, breath steadying, fear learning discipline. He told her. Angles, names, the car she'd ride in, the signal if something went wrong and the backup if the signal didn't go through. She listened like a student who had waited her whole life for a class that mattered. Snow began in earnest, dry flakes scrimshawing the glass. The house held steady around 2 doors in the east wing, where a girl and her brother had finally slept. Leo's phone buzzed once more from the unknown number. Tick. Tock. Attached, 3 frames. Evan yesterday, Evan today, Evan tomorrow. Same van twice, the ring in 2 shots, 3 timestamps aligned like a fuse. Was the hand lighting it inside his own family? Or did the fuse lead to a man who just tried to turn Leo's Thanksgiving into a leash? The clock on the mantel advanced 1 delicate click. Outside, the river slid by like a blade in its sheath. Inside, Leo Rocco smiled without warmth and reached for the phone that made men stop pretending. Because the plan had just become his. Snow rinsed the morning into a cleaner kind of cold. By 10, the Rocco estate had the quiet of a church before a wedding. Soft steps, lowered voices, a sense that something big was being arranged just out of sight. Leo walked Crystal through it the way a pilot talks a passenger through turbulence. No poetry, no panic. Facts. At 3:15 p.m., the side delivery door at PS 417 will be locked, he said. Kay will be at the main entrance. My men are posted like lampposts, not statues. Look, move, blend. If anyone shows the van permit, it won't scan. Crystal kept pace. She wore Dina's dark coat and the good luck hat. She carried a phone on a lanyard like a lifeline. "And me?" she asked. "Where do you want me?" "In my eye line," he said. "You're the person they want me to look away from, so I won't." She nodded. It wasn't bravado. It was a woman deciding where to stand and understanding what that meant. They rode to the city with Evan wedged between them in the back seat, the winter light making the Hudson look like steel pulled thin. Evan played with the window button, up down, testing the lock Leo had set. "If the side door's closed," Evan asked, "won't they just try the back?" "They'll try stupid first," Leo said. "It's habit." "Stupid gets you caught," Evan said, like he'd learned it from the world, not school. Crystal squeezed her brother's knee. "No superhero stuff," she told him. "You see something off? You walk the other way." "I'm not dumb," he muttered, but his eyes flicked to Leo, measuring whether adults meant what they said. "I know," she said. "I just like saying it." They dropped Evan near the gate. Kay bent to his level, said something that made him grin against his will, then palmed the intercom button and let him through. He didn't look back. He waved without turning his head. Teenagers were like that. They protected the parts that hurt by pretending no one could see them. Crystal watched him disappear. Her breath fogged in a short burst. "How long until this is normal?" "When the men doing this figure out they're bleeding money instead of making it," Leo said. "Pain is a business for them. I will bankrupt the business." Back in the car, Crystal cut him a side glance. "Do you always talk like that?" "Like what?" "Like you're filing a plan with the judge." "I like judges that can't be bribed," he said, "so I make my own." She almost smiled. "And your verdict on me?" "Case still open," he said, and let it land warmer than it read. They spent an hour at the apartment with Dina, packing the kind of small treasures people forget to call valuable. Birthday cards with crayon suns. A chipped mug with a stubborn handle. The living room looked bigger empty. It also looked meaner. "You kept it very clean," Dina said, meaning you kept order even when life didn't offer it. "I work in other people's rooms all day," Crystal answered. "It's hard to come home and stare at chaos." Dina touched her shoulder. "You were never meant to carry it alone." On the way back to the estate, the Suburban secure line pinged. Leo put the call on speaker so Crystal could hear. "Courier sang," the intel lead said, voice calm with the satisfaction of a clean interrogation. He thought he was just delivering envelopes and digitals. He never saw faces, only email handles. But he did one pickup inside. Warehouse by the old ferry terminal. Cameras were broken. Our tech says they were just unplugged. "Havel's dock," Leo said. "Looks like," Intel answered. "We also mirrored the burner domain. New message just hit. Friday, 15:15, PS 417 side. Then a trash can emoji, like they're cute." Crystal stared out the window, jaw set. "Trash," she repeated, low. "They're calling my brother trash." "No," Leo said. "They're calling their plan trash, and they're right." He hung up and turned to her. "I want you to hear something from me before you hear it from anyone else," he said. "My cousin Marco is tied to the shells. I don't have proof he ordered anything aimed at you or Evan, but I have proof he profited from selling the paper to a man who would." "What do you do with family like that?" she asked. "Teach them the difference between blood and loyalty," he said. "Then choose loyalty." She held his gaze. "Even if it costs blood?" "If it costs yours, there's no choice," he said. They were almost to the driveway when the gate guard signaled. A sedan idled just outside the property line. A woman stepped out, hands visible, badge held between two fingers the way you hold something to show you believe in it. Leo sighed. "Detective. I asked the desk who set your guard schedules," she said, dry. "They laughed at me and told me to stop asking dumb questions." "Detective Carter," he introduced, for Crystal's benefit. "NYPD organized crime." The woman offered a hand to Crystal first. "Maya," she said, "I'm not here to arrest your boss. I'm here because your name tripped a sealed file in a place it shouldn't have. That usually means money is trying to turn a person into a case." "Sealed where?" Leo asked. "In a state-level probe," Carter said. "Terms I'm not supposed to know." But I do. Because you make enemies, Leo. They like to scrape your edges and see what comes up under the fingernails. Is Havel in that probe? Always, she said. But the interesting part is closer. A consultancy that touches Havel's paper trail 2 or 3 weeks before injuries start showing up in hospital logs. Your cousin's initials appear as a ghost in 3 places. Your cousin's man shows up near the school, yesterday and the day before. Crystal's breath dropped. The ring, she said. Carter's eyebrow ticked. You saw it too. I did, Crystal said. I don't know what to do with that information. You hand it to the right person and you don't carry it alone, Carter said, which is why I'm standing on your mobster's lawn. Charming, Leo said. Carter didn't blink. I don't like your methods. Sometimes I need your outcomes. Today is a need day. I came to warn you. Someone inside your circle is selling the route between a boy and his home. And someone outside wants to buy your panic. What do you want in return? Leo asked. Proof I can use in court, Carter said. No bodies I have to explain. No promises on the second, Leo said. Try, she said. Then to Crystal, softer. If anything feels off at pickup, call me. Even if it makes the men with earpieces scowl. I don't have your number, Crystal said. Carter changed that. Now you do. The detective left without stepping past the threshold, which told Leo she understood lines even when she crossed them. Inside, Leo walked Crystal to the study and set a thin envelope on the desk. Your contract's been uploaded. This is the hard copy. She touched it without opening it, like a person laying a palm on a Bible. There's one more term I need, she said. Name it. I won't be your secret, she said. Chin lifted. If anything starts between us beyond contracts and locks, I won't be the thing you apologize for. He stared at her for a very long second in which the room went quiet around a new truth. I don't apologize for what I protect, he said. And I don't hide what I'm proud of. Then we understand each other, she said, the words steadying her own pulse. He took a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding and let it out like surrender flavored with respect. Terms accepted. The hours between noon and 3 stretched thin. He showed her the operations board, names, arrows, a map of a small war. She watched, learned, asked where she should stand if Plan A broke. He answered with Plan B and C. At 2:40 p.m., the city changed gear. School day traffic shifted, radios crackled, the air felt like static gathering in a cat's fur. The Suburban merged into a lane of parents and buses. Kay's silhouette was a fixed point near the main gate. 2 blocks down, the white van's usual spot yawned empty. Where are they? Crystal whispered. Somewhere they think we aren't, Leo said. At 3:12, his earpiece murmured. Side door locked. Principal annoyed. Lock stays. At 3:14, another voice. South alley clear. At 3:15, a third. North scaffolding. Renter's plaque says Hudson Fleet Maintenance. No van. Crystal's fingers tightened on the seat belt. Maybe they gave up? They don't give up, Leo said. They change doors. 3:18. First wave of kids spilled out. Backpacks, shouts, a dropped trumpet case. Kay angled her body to create a funnel between the main gate and the sidewalk where Leo's car sat. Evan emerged a minute later, taller than the crowd, eyes scanning like a kid who knew when not to be stupid. Crystal exhaled. There. Evan saw them and came fast. That was when the first feint broke. 2 men in city maintenance vests stepping from a delivery truck at the corner, clipboards in hand, the kind of official gait that makes people look away. One moved toward the main gate, the other angled toward the side path, found the lock, frowned like a bureaucrat disappointed by a memo he hadn't read. Eyes on vest 2, Leo's earpiece said. He's got the wrong shoes. Rubber new, treads wrong for men who work. Kay turned into him by accident, shoulder-checking him with an apology that wasn't. His clipboard spun out of his hand. No weapon. Just zip ties. She smiled like a woman who'd been bored an hour and had suddenly found entertainment. Move, Evan, Leo said into the car's mic. The boy didn't run. He angled, using a pack of 8th graders as cover, slipped in and climbed into the back seat in one clean motion. Crystal grabbed his sleeve and didn't let go. The delivery truck hissed into reverse. Vest 2 backed off, offended at the paperwork hell his day had become. The crowd flowed, unaware that a small war had just been won by a lock and a woman who liked to shoulder check. Home, Leo told the driver. They didn't celebrate. You don't celebrate a feint. You catalog it, then you prepare for the punch that follows the test. Back at the estate, Evan pretended to do homework on the sitting room floor. Dina made hot chocolate she called medicine and refused to explain why it worked. Crystal leaned in the study doorway while Leo read fresh intel. "You're steady," she said, and it wasn't a compliment. It was a map of the part of him she trusted. "So are you," he said without looking up. "You didn't scream." "I'm saving it," she said, "for when it's useful." He looked up then, caught by the shape of her mouth when she decided to be brave. Something eased in his chest that had been tight a long time. He stood, crossed to her, stopped close enough to read the flecks of gold in the green. "If we do this," he said, voice lower, "we do it slow. Not because I'm unsure, because I want to remember every step we didn't skip." She didn't back away. "Then don't skip this one," she said softly. He bent and kissed her the way a man asks a question he already knows the answer to. Careful, anchoring, a hand lifting to her jaw without taking more than he was given. She caught his wrist and held on. The room didn't spin, it steadied. He pulled back first. "Now it's real," he said. "It was real when you locked the door," she answered. A knock. They stepped apart like guilty teenagers and then didn't bother pretending. It was Kay, hat in hand, face carved from granite and gossip. "We got something off the courier's email," she said. "Not a plan, a calendar invite. Title line says Friday, pickup, ferry. Time 11:57 p.m., location, the old terminal." "Midnight," Leo said. "Of course." Kay handed him a printout. "And this, from the courier's drafts folder, a message unsent to MARC advising alawmail.cc. Kid scared, sister moved. He never hit send. Somebody interrupted him." "Us," Leo said. Kay nodded. "Boss, we also got a ping off Evan's phone, right after school. A text from an unknown number. Congrats. You've been selected for After Hours STEM Club. First meeting Friday. Invite your guardian to sign." Link looks real until it doesn't. Crystal went pale. "He didn't show me that." "He might not have seen it," Kay said. "We caught it in quarantine." Crystal's shoulders relaxed a fraction. "Okay." Evan appeared in the doorway, trying to look casual and failing. "Do you guys always whisper when I'm in the next room?" "Yes," Leo said. "Cool," Evan said, then to Crystal. "Can I go to Tyler's after tutoring tomorrow? His mom said she can drive me." "Text me the address," she said. He rolled his eyes like this was oppression, then grinned at Kay and vanished. The estate's long afternoon thinned into dusk. Snow sharpened, wind testing the eaves. Leo spread maps of the ferry terminal on the desk. Crystal leaned over them with him, smelling like winter and Dina's cocoa. "Why midnight?" she asked. "Because men who want to be mythic like to feel the clock strike," he said. "And because there's a tide then that covers footprints." "You've done this before," she said. "Different woman, different war," he said. "Same math." She traced a finger along the dock shape. "Where am I?" "Beside me," he said. And then because she'd asked not to be a secret, he added, "Where anyone can see." Her eyes warmed. "So the world knows which team I'm on." "So the world knows which team I'm on," he corrected. They were still there, arranging lanes and exits, when Leo's phone vibrated with an alert that didn't belong. It was Evan's location tag, something Kay had set to ping only if the boy deviated from his routes. Route alert. Evan left the house 6:11 p.m. Destination, community center, tutoring, deviation. 6:28 p.m. Device moving south down Riverside instead of east to Jessup Ave. Speed inconsistent with walking. Signal dipping, possible tunnel or vehicle. Crystal froze, finger landing on the map like she could pin the boy back into place. "He's with the driver, right?" "He's with the driver." Leo was already calling. No answer. He called Kay. "Find the car," he said. Pull traffic cams from Riverside. If the driver stopped for gas, find the pump. If he didn't, find the shadow that made him think he should. Bring me plate reads for everything near him for 3 blocks. Kay moved. The house moved. The river outside didn't. The phone buzzed. A message from Evan's number, 3 words. No punctuation. The kind of text that strips skin. Wrong car, help. Crystal's breath snapped. She looked at Leo with a raw, clean terror that made language feel useless. Kay, he said into the comm, already moving. Pull the driver's route from the last 10 minutes. I want every camera on Riverside. Track anything near our plates. Crystal's breath caught. He was with your driver. Not anymore, Leo said, grabbing his coat. You're coming with me. I'm not staying behind. That's why I said with me. They reached the Suburban in under a minute. The house that had felt like a fortress now sounded like a heart-skipping beats. On the tablet, Evan's phone signal blinked once, then vanished underground. Tunnel, Leo muttered. They switched cars under cover. Crystal's voice trembled. He texted before they took it. Then he's thinking, Leo said. And if he's thinking, he's alive. The first camera feed appeared. A gray sedan easing in front of Leo's own car, forcing his driver to brake. A man opened the back door. Evan stepped in, calm, trusting the familiar shape of a car that wasn't theirs. Crystal made a strangled sound. He thought it was yours. Exactly what they wanted. Leo's tone was ice. They studied us. Another camera showed the sedan turning toward the docks. Behind it, the same white van that had haunted every photo. The message was clear. Havel's people had taken the bait meant for Leo. Coal pier, Leo said. They'll hide him by the water. Then take me there, Crystal said. He looked at her, pale, shaking, unyielding, and nodded once. You stay in my shadow. If I say run, you move before I finish the word. She nodded. Copy. The coal pier stank of salt and rust. Wind hissed through broken railings. Team 3 flanked the entrance. Kay met them in the dark. Gray sedans parked, she whispered. Empty, door unlocked. Inside, Leo found a torn corner of paper, from a community center flyer, and one of Evan's loose shoelaces. A breadcrumb. He left us a trail, Leo said, quiet pride threading the words. A noise ahead. Voices, low and mocking. Leo motioned once, silent order, and moved toward a warehouse where a flickering bulb spilled light over concrete. Evan stood under it, bruised temple, chin lifted. 2 men flanked him, one with a clipboard, the other with a heavy silver watch. You picked the wrong boy, Leo said, stepping into view. Guns twitched. He shot the light bulb. Darkness slammed down like a curtain. The air filled with confusion and a single calm voice. Kay. Left. 2 dull thuds. Silence. Crystal ran forward, whispering. Evan? A small, shaking voice. Prove it's you. You hate jazz, she said. That's her, Evan breathed. Crystal found his arm, pulled him close. He was trembling but standing. When the generator's emergency glow returned, both kidnappers were on the ground, Kay's work, neat and final. The third one? Leo asked. Ran, Kay said. Let him, Leo replied. He'll lead us home. They got the boy to the car. Only when the doors locked did Crystal break, shaking with the leftover adrenaline she hadn't been allowed to show. I hit one of them, Evan said, voice small. With my backpack. He called me trash. Leo looked at him in the rear view. Then you did your job, and you're not trash. You're family. Back at the mansion, Dina met them at the door with trembling hands that still knew how to mother. She pressed soup into Evan's hands, scolded him gently for scaring her, and kissed the cut on his temple until the boy finally smiled. In the study, Leo spread the evidence across the desk. Same paper trail, Naven, Caden, Havel. Now add coal pier and a name with a watch. Kay dropped a plastic bag, a burner phone, a printed email, subject line. Friday, pickup ferry, 11:57 p.m. Crystal leaned over it. Friday, midnight. Leo nodded. They move faster because we move first. She read the small print. Make the boy compliant by noon. Sister as leverage optional. Her voice broke. They used us like pawns. Not anymore, Leo said. Now they play on my board. He lifted the phone, Marco's number flashing. He answered. Cousin, Marco said. Heard there was excitement on the docks. Leo's silence stretched until it became a blade. Family, Marco continued. Always messy. Some messes, Leo said. Get cleaned with bleach. Marco laughed and hung up. The sound stayed. Crystal's eyes searched Leo's face. He knew. He wanted me to know he knew, Leo said. That's different. Detective Carter arrived after dark, shaking snow off her coat. Your cousin's consultancy just hit a city audit, she said. And I've got chatter about Havel's midnight ferry run. Same time, same dock. So he's coming himself, Leo said. Looks that way, Carter replied. If you're smart, you'll let me handle it in daylight. I'm done playing daylight, Leo said. Crystal stepped closer. You think Marco will be there too? He'll want credit, Leo said. And Havel loves an audience. Carter sighed. Then bring me proof I can use, not bodies I have to explain. You'll get your thread, Leo said. Midnight crept nearer. The map of the ferry terminal lay between them. Arrows, red circles, backup plans. Leo pointed. You stand here, visible, safe distance. If Marco shows, he's on camera, I control. And if he doesn't? She asked. Then Havel dies knowing I don't wait for ghosts. Crystal looked at him for a long time. What if I told you I'm scared? I'd say you should be, he answered, softer. Fear's proof you still have something worth losing. She touched his arm. Then don't lose me. He caught her hand, pressed it once against his chest. I won't. At 10:47 p.m., the landline rang, the one no one should have. Leo answered. Good evening, King, came Victor Havel's voice. Smooth, cruel. You enjoyed my little game. You're not invited to my holidays, Leo said. Oh, I think I am, Havel purred. Friday, midnight, ferry terminal, no police. You bring the girl, I bring the boy. We trade debts like gentlemen. You don't have the boy. Don't I? Havel laughed. I had him long enough to prove I could. Tell your cousin thank you for the introduction. The line clicked. Silence returned. Crystal whispered, He knows about us. He knows what he thinks I'll risk. Leo said. He hasn't seen what I will. He turned to the map, drew a circle around the dock, and wrote one word inside it. War. Snow rattled the windows. Dina lit a candle and left it burning on the table, a prayer for those who walk into darkness. Leo grabbed his coat, holstered steel, and opened the door. Crystal followed. Ready? He asked. I was waiting for you to ask, she said. They stepped into the freezing night together. The river stretched ahead, black and endless. Somewhere, under the same moon, a chalk X was already drying on a crate at the ferry terminal, and two men waited beside it, one with a ring, one with a watch. Midnight skimmed the river like a knife. The old ferry terminal hunched against the water. Rusted ribs, blown bulbs, a concrete throat that swallowed sound. Snow sifted sideways, powdering crates, making footprints confess where they'd been. Leo arrived with the quiet that means force. Two SUVs rolled to black. Engines died. No doors slammed. From the roofline to the pier's shadow teeth, his people were already part of the dark. Kay on the crane catwalk, two more tucked behind a stack of pallets marked marine rope, another pair inside the ticket hall that smelled like damp and old coins. Cameras the city didn't know about blinked alive. Crystal stood where he'd told her, 10 paces off his right shoulder, visible enough to be bait, close enough to be claimed. The good luck hat was pulled low. Her eyes were steady. She didn't fidget, didn't ask for a second version of the plan. She'd memorized the exits, the hand signals, the way his mouth set when he shifted from kindness to war. A chalk X glared on the side of a green crate near the edge, fresh, cocky. Beside it waited two silhouettes, one with a coat that cost more than a confession, and a signet ring glinting like a tiny moon. the other with a heavy silver watch. Havel and Marco. Desert and betrayal. Leo walked the last yards alone. Snow ticked his shoulders. The river licked the pilings with a cold tongue. King, Victor Havel said, voice like German crystal tapped with a spoon. I do love your punctuality. You're standing on a city I own, Leo said. Show some manners. Havel smiled. I brought a gift. He tapped the crate with a fingertip. Under the X, proof that our little Thanksgiving correspondence wasn't idle. Leo didn't look. You brought yourself. That's the only proof I need. Marco stepped forward, hands open, grin too bright. Family reunion on the water, just like the old days, minus the lifeguards. Lifeguards kept you alive, Leo said. I've been rethinking their contract. Marco's eyes flicked to Crystal, cataloging. You brought your new house manager. He tasted the term like a joke he wanted other men to laugh at. I brought the woman under my protection, Leo said, voice flat. Choose your words like you want your teeth tomorrow. Havel's ring caught the light as he adjusted his glove. Protection, he mused. A sweet myth, like kings, like family. His gaze slid to Marco. Like cousins who don't invoice each other. Leo let that sit. Then, without moving his head, he said, Kay, a small click in his ear. On you, Kay whispered from the catwalk. Havel spread his hands, elegant. Shall we trade fairy tales? You bring the girl, I bring the boy. He nodded at the X. Open it. Leo didn't move. A figure in the shadow of the crates, a Rocco man, stepped forward with a pry bar and popped the lid. Inside, layered in plastic against the snow, was a stack of glossy stills. Evan, school steps, side door, 3 angles, printed timestamps, yesterday, today, tomorrow. Under them, a burner phone, screen cracked, red case, the one Evan had switched to 2 months ago. It buzzed on cue, screen lighting with a preloaded text. Tick, tock. Crystal's jaw set, a tremor deepening once and then smoothing. She didn't lunge. She looked at Leo. He gave the smallest nod. I see it. I'm still leading. Your point? Leo asked Havel. That I'm efficient, Havel said, and that your attachments have a price. Pay mine. You don't set my prices, Leo said, and turned his head a fraction. Marco, you called him to the table? Marco rolled a shoulder. Business needs partners. It needs loyalty, Leo said. It needs oxygen, Marco corrected. You made the city hold its breath for a maid with pretty eyes. I'm just helping it exhale. By selling children as leverage? Leo asked. By selling paper, Marco said, bored. Havel chose how to collect. I just rang the bell. Crystal's voice cut in, gentle and lethal. You rang it on a kid who calls the wrong number when he's scared, and on a woman who cleans up after all your holidays. Marco's smile flickered. She speaks. She decides, Leo said. And so do I. He lifted his hand. 2 of his men stepped out holding a tablet and a satchel. Leo took the tablet, swiped, and threw the image up on a portable screen Kay had clipped to a crane girder. A grid of transactions, Nivan, Caden, Havel, routing numbers highlighted, timestamps circled, a familiar consultancy name, MR Advising, bridging money that was supposed to be air. Havel's mouth barely moved. Subtle. Recorded, Leo said, and mirrored to a detective who's very patient with my outcomes when I bring her threads. Marco's eyes tightened, a tell he never managed to delete. You don't have the courier. I have enough, Leo said. Plus the driver you rented Hudson Fleet under. Plus the dash cam with your ring in the corner. Your man, your watch, your dock. Havel's ring clicked against the crate, idle music. And yet you came. He looked at Crystal again. Which means you intend to pay one way or another. Leo smiled without warmth. I came to collect. Havel's men unfolded from the dark, 4, then 6, then 8, vests and gloves and bored, violent eyes. On the roof ridge above the ticket hall, 3 red dots winked, scopes or toys hard to tell from the ground. Kay murmured, 3 topside, 2 crane, I have shots, yours? Hold, Leo breathed. Havel cocked his head, amused. No police, no snipers, and yet I smell both. No police, Leo agreed. The snipers are mine. Havel laughed, delighted. Better. Marco drifted a step left, as if checking angles. Leo watched his boots, not his smile. Snow had settled on the toe caps, then melted. He'd been here a while, longer than Havel. He had placed the X. He had told himself it made him an artist. Leo lowered his voice until it belonged to the space between them. You lured me with paper and timing. You used a boy's panic like bait. You think that makes you a partner. It makes you a footnote. Marco's jaw worked. He seemed to decide something and didn't quite finish deciding it. You're too soft, he said. You got soft when you started setting chairs for people who should carry plates. Family is who sits, Leo said, not who takes. Havel clapped once, crisp. Gentlemen, we're wasting moonlight. I propose a simple exchange. You bring the girl. He tilted his head toward Crystal. And in return, I give you a 24-hour grace period on the boy, after which I do exactly as my note promised. You get to play hero. I get to prove a thesis about kings. You don't get her, Leo said. Then you don't get your 24 hours, Havel replied pleasantly. And we start carving up your city by breakfast. We will begin with schools. Crystal's heart hit hard once. She stepped closer to Leo until their shoulders almost touched. Don't bargain with me, she said, not to Havel, to Leo. Don't trade me for time. Havel's eyes warmed with appreciation. Lovely. A romantic. Leo didn't look away from her. I don't trade the people I protect, he said. I moved the table. He lifted his hand again. On the crane, something blinked. The chalk X flared. An LED stamp K had pasted a minute earlier, unnoticed. It pulsed once, twice, a heartbeat. The portable screen changed feeds, a high vantage angle none of Havel's men had scouted, showing their own flank, and then froze on a face in Havel's crew. The man with the watch. Claudio Rivas, Leo said calmly. Felon. Out on a paper job through a consultancy that rhymes with your initials, Marco. Wife and a daughter. They live above a bodega on 145th. Your boss promised them a stipend if you didn't come back. He lied. Watch bevel Claudio twitched. The river heard his pulse. Leo kept going, voice even, not cruel. Two of you have warrants on technicalities that start failing when the right detective cares. 3 of you are here because you think the man with the ring on his finger will remember your names once you're dead. He nodded at Havel. He won't. Kay's voice skimmed Leo's ear. Scopes on 2 faces. They're listening. Leo didn't ask for surrender. He just set the facts on the night and let gravity work. Men shifted. One lowered his gun a degree. Another exhaled like he'd been hoarding air. Claudio's jaw creaked. Havel's smile thinned. Ah, he rehearsed a union speech. It's a mirror, Leo said. Look at yourself in it. Havel snapped his fingers. 2 of his men moved to flank Crystal quick. Leo had air between breath and bullet. He filled it with a word. Now. Light changed. From the ticket hall, flood lamps blazed white. From the far pier, a horn wailed once, the agreed signal for move the pawns. Kay's first shot shattered a scope. The second nailed a floodlight behind Havel's shoulder, exploding it into glitter to blind his rear line. Leo stepped into the gap. Chaos surged clean. Leo drove Havel sideways, with a shoulder and a hand to the ring wrist, twisting until bones considered new careers. The ring bit his palm. Havel hissed, vicious and impressed. Marco lunged, toward Leo, not Havel. A blade flashed. It wasn't meant for the ring hand. It was meant for Leo's ribs. Kay's third shot pinged the knife from Marco's grip and turned it into junk skittering under the crate. Marco froze, then laughed too loudly. Testing reflexes, cuz. You just failed yours, Leo said. Around them, 2 of Havel's men dropped weapons and lifted hands. Claudio did not go down. He came forward, shoving another gun aside, as if choosing a future in real time. My kid's 8, he said to Havel, voice rough with the decision hurting his throat. You don't get to buy her lunch with my funeral. Havel's face smoothed into something reptilian. He pivoted, fast, a line of motion like a blade through fabric, and in the pivot, His free hand found a small pistol you don't see until it speaks. Crystal didn't think. She moved. She stepped across Leo's front and set herself to his right, left shoulder forward, body a shield where love insists on geometry. Havel's eyes landed on the choice like a hawk finding a mouse. "Sweet," he said. "Let's measure what kings will pay." The gun rose. Leo was already turning, dragging her behind his hip, but Havel adjusted, and time stretched. The river paused. Snow held its breath. A shape broke to their left. Marco, of all men, slamming into Havel's arm from the side with a wild, graceless tackle that knocked the pistol wide. The shot cracked past Crystal's ear and killed a piece of fog. Marco cursed, half laughing, half terrified. "I like my cousin alive," he barked at Havel. "I can't rob a corpse." Havel slammed an elbow back. Marco staggered, teeth pink. The gun reoriented as if it knew where it had always wanted to point. Kay fired, but Havel had read angles his entire life. He jerked Crystal in front of him with an arm like threaded cable. Pistol pivoted, barrel kissing the skin just below her temple. Everything stopped with the clarity of ice. Leo's hands lifted a fraction, empty, furious, sure. Around them, men froze in postures that hurt. The flood lamps hummed, the ring gleamed, the watch ticked. Havel's breath ghosted Crystal's cheek. "Kings," he said softly, to Leo and the river and the night. "Choose." His eyes were all tea-time politeness. His voice was winter. "Your empire," he said, "or your woman." Crystal's pulse slammed under Havel's forearm and then steadied, as if she had discovered a new center that didn't belong to fear. She looked at Leo, not pleading, not releasing him, just with him. Her mouth shaped two silent words. "Don't trade." Kay's whisper threaded Leo's ear. "I have half a shot, not enough to promise." Beyond the flood lamps, a black SUV rolled to a stop with its lights dead. The ticket hall's door cracked on the far side. Somewhere, a phone vibrated with a detective's patience becoming action. Leo drew a breath that rooted him to stone and river and vows made at a table. When he spoke, his voice didn't reach for thunder. It reached for truth. "You think those are the only choices," he said to Havel. "You don't know me." Havel's lips almost smiled. "Prove it." Snow dusted Crystal's lashes. The pistol kissed skin. The chalk X glowed faintly behind them like a bad blessing. And on the crane, Kay's finger tightened by a degree that wasn't yet a trigger pull. The gun pressed against Crystal's temple glinted under the floodlight. Time folded in on itself. Every sound, the wind, the water, the breath between heartbeats, waited to see which man would move first. Leo's voice was steady. "You don't want to do this, Victor." Havel smiled, teeth white and cruel. "Of course I do. You built this empire on obedience, and I'm here to collect what it costs to love beneath it." "Then you misunderstood everything I've built," Leo said. He flicked his eyes toward the water, just once, enough for Kay on the crane to catch it. A silent code, one they had rehearsed without rehearsing. Plan C. Kay shifted her stance, wind brushing her coat. "Tell your man to lower his rifle," Havel warned. "You can't shoot me without hitting her." Leo's mouth curved slightly. "You're assuming she's my weakness." Crystal swallowed. "Leo," he met her eyes. "You're my strength. Stay still." The snow thickened, a curtain of white between movement and mistake. Marco stood to the side, clutching his bruised ribs, torn between shame and survival. "Havel," Leo said quietly, "look at her hands." The mobster frowned. "What?" "She's holding your ring hand." Crystal moved fast, training by adrenaline, not by lesson. Her right hand clamped over Havel's wrist. Her left dropped, twisting the small pistol out of his grip. Leo lunged the same second, driving his shoulder into Havel's chest. The gun fired once, into air, into noise, and then vanished beneath Leo's boot. Kay's shot cracked an instant later, shattering the floodlight above them and plunging the dock into dark blue twilight. By the time the echo faded, Havel was on his knees, Leo's forearm locked under his jaw. Marco staggered backward, hands half raised. "Cousin." Leo didn't look at him. "You called him here. You brought danger to my table. You made our name a target. I didn't know they'd touch the boy, Marco said. It was supposed to be leverage, not blood. There's no such thing as clean leverage, Leo said. Marco dropped to his knees beside Havel, hands shaking. What do you want me to do? Beg? I want you to listen, Leo said, voice low enough that Crystal could barely hear. Family means nothing if it costs innocence. You're not my rival, Marco. You're my warning. Havel tried to speak. Leo's grip tightened. You use debts to feed your hunger, Leo said. Now you can live long enough to starve. He released him with a shove that dropped the man into the snow. Kay appeared from the shadows, gun still raised. Boss, we've got movement on the north end. Detective Carter's unit. Looks like she's early. Let her in, Leo said. Maya Carter walked through the chaos with a flashlight and an expression that said, Don't make me file too much paperwork. She looked from Leo to the bruised Havel. I told you no bodies. There aren't any, Leo said. Just a few broken illusions. Good. Because I just got a court-approved seizure on Havel Asset Group. She nodded toward her team moving in behind her. Your cousin's consultancy will enjoy explaining itself on Monday. Marco stared up at her. You can't arrest me. He's the criminal, not me. Funny thing about paper trails, Carter said, snapping cuffs around his wrists. They never lie as cleanly as people do. She turned to Leo. You said you'd bring me a thread. You brought me a tapestry. I don't like loose ends, Leo said. You're still one yourself, Carter replied, but her mouth softened. Don't make me clean up after you again. I'll try not to, he said. When she left with her team and the night began to breathe again, Leo finally looked at Crystal. The adrenaline had drained out of her, leaving her pale but upright, her hands still trembling from what they'd done. He reached for her, not to pull but to steady. You okay? She nodded. You always ask that like the answer changes anything. Does it? She looked at him for a long second. Maybe it's not about being okay. Maybe it's about knowing someone will still be there when it isn't. He brushed his thumb along her jaw where the gun had pressed. You'll never be alone again. Her eyes softened. You already told me that once. And I meant it more the second time. Behind them, the first sliver of dawn cracked open above the river. The snow turned gold where it hit the water. Marco's car was gone by sunrise, escorted under Carter's lights. Havel was loaded into a van, muttering about kings and debts. The river forgot them as quickly as it remembered them. The next morning, the Rocco estate was quiet again. Firelight, coffee, the smell of pancakes from the kitchen. Evan sat at the dining table, head bandaged, fork in hand, half proud, half annoyed that adults kept asking if he needed more syrup. Dina placed a new chair beside his and patted it. Crystal, she said. This one's yours now. Permanent. Crystal froze. I can't. You can, Dina said. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up. She sat. The chair didn't creak. It welcomed. Leo entered from the hallway, tie loose, expression unguarded in a way she hadn't seen before. He leaned against the doorway for a moment, watching them. His mother, the boy, the woman who had turned his world right side up by daring to challenge it. Dina smiled at him. We're missing one more, she said, the seat beside her. He walked forward. The room quieted, the way it always did when Leo decided something. He placed a hand on the back of Crystal's chair and looked around the table. Thanksgiving's about making room, he said. So we're making more. He sat beside her, the space between them closing like a promise kept. Evan grinned into his pancakes. Does this mean I can call him boss or dad? Leo nearly choked on his coffee. Not both at once, he said. Everyone laughed, even Crystal, who hadn't realized until that moment how good laughter could feel inside walls that used to echo. Later, when the plates were cleared and Dina had retreated to her garden prayers, Leo found Crystal by the window overlooking the Hudson. Snow drifted slow, soft as feathers. You never asked what happens now, he said. I don't have to. I'll tell you anyway. He reached into his pocket and set something small in her palm. A simple gold ring, no diamonds, just warmth. No empire, no contracts, Just us, if you want it. Her breath caught. You sure you're allowed to be that human? He smiled. I think it's my new business model. She slid the ring on. It fit perfectly, as if the world had sized it for her in advance. Leo, she whispered, this isn't about protection anymore, is it? He shook his head. It's about belonging. The kind that doesn't come with debts. She leaned into him, the city reflected in the glass. Lights, river, morning. Two people framed by peace after too much noise. That night, the estate filled again for dinner. The same long table, the same flicker of candles, but the energy was different. Evan told stories with his hands. Dina hummed softly to herself, and Crystal smiled without checking if she was allowed. Leo raised his glass. To family, he said. The one we're born into, and the one we fight to keep. Glasses clinked. Dina leaned over. You seated her at the table once, she said softly. Now she's the table's heart. Leo looked at Crystal, and in her eyes he saw the reflection of every promise he hadn't known how to make until now. Happy Thanksgiving, he murmured. Every day, she whispered back. Outside, the river kept its quiet watch. Inside, warmth spilled from the windows into the snow. The world, for once, didn't need saving. And the man who once ruled by fear learned that the only throne worth keeping was the seat beside her. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.